do any bits or whatever. So, yeah, guys, we bit a day behind, as it were. I almost lost my voice. I'm still almost on the verge of losing it, I think. But we're back together, looking kind of ahead and back a little bit at the European fixtures we had over last weekend and the coming weekend. But great to see you, Jeremy, my man.
Hey, Quinny, how you doing, man?
Good to see you, my man. And Fedo, good to see you back again, buddy.
Perfect. Always lovely to be here. Love it.
Buzzing. And there was only a couple of games at the weekend, guys. We were just chatting before coming on there. There was only a couple of games at the weekend that made any sort of real impression or made any real headlines across world football. Probably the primo game of the weekend that we just seen was PSG at home to Napoli. Jeremy, did you catch it yourself, buddy? What was your take on it?
Yeah. PSG against Lille. It's just what happened with Paris. It's more off the field drama than on the field drama, and then when one starts going on to the other, you have a 4-3 game where you think that they're comfortable and then they end up losing. I watched the first half hour of the game and I thought to myself, well, I guess 3 losses in a row for Paris, it's where it's going to stop, because they played the best football that I've seen them play since post-World Cup. And then out of nowhere, they just crushed and then were just not as good. Obviously, you got Mbappe, you got Messi, so you can score anytime, and then Messi scores that free kick at the 95th minute to finally give the win to Paris, although they were down 3-2 10 minutes before. So it was a very entertaining game. Things that have happened on the pitch that are sort of like worth noting. Neymar's injured, so he'll miss this weekend. He'll most likely miss the next one, potentially Bayern. Nuno Mendes is injured as well, a knee ligament injury. So they expect him to be out for a bit. They're talking about a minor injury, but they are thinking 2 weeks still. And the sporting director, Luis Campos, was on the pitch berating the referees and the players. So I don't know how much impact that's going to have on everything else, but I think if they don't get a good results in the coming weekend, and I'm not sure what happened with Galtier, who was again trying to be the firefighter and put all the fires out when he was left to his own device on the post-game conference. But Lille is a great team that just doesn't know how to score. And then when Lucas Chevalier makes mistakes, or when Fonte, their experienced defender, gets injured early, they really opened it up for Paris, who, remember last week we talked about Paris and how bad they were for the first 20 minutes. I thought, maybe they're back. Maybe everybody should jump on the Mbappe, Messi, Neymar wagon. But it didn't happen that way. Nothing much better than what it was on the weekday, where, of course, I'm sure Fedo was pretty happy to see PSG lose to Bayern. And me, I was a bit dumbfounded to hear Galtier saying that PSG's tactic against Bayern was defending for 65 minutes up until finally Mbappe would come in and create some havoc. I mean, if that's how you think when you have Messi and Neymar up front, I'm wondering what you need to start playing offensive football and trying to win games. But yeah, Fedo, how did you feel that midweek game, and how did Bayern go over the weekend?
That was a great midweek game. It was actually a great game to watch. I was surprised that Davis didn't start in a way, but then he got his assist. So I didn't play him because I was not brave enough in a way. But Bayern did play pretty good. But then on the weekend they played really bad in a way. But he rotated a lot. In last days, actually, in the last game weeks, in the last matches, De Ligt actually was kind of good. He got back to his old groove, right. and now he left him out on the bench, and he played Daley Blind instead of De Ligt. And what then happened is that in the 17th minute, Upamecano got a red card. Which at the end of the day wasn't a red card, to be honest, and that was a big discussion as well in Germany. And Bayern Munich is already screaming that everybody's against them and blah blah blah. Okay, but at the end of the day, that wasn't a red card. It should have been checked through VAR, but he didn't even go to the monitor. But after that, obviously, it's gonna be a completely different game, especially if you play in Mönchengladbach. Against Gladbach, who is anyways kind of your Achilles how do you say
Achilles
that?
heel.
Achilles heel, yes, because Bayern Munich somehow manages always to lose against the Borussia Mönchengladbach. Like, I always try to bet. That's the only time I bet on something, because I know Gladbach will actually win against Bayern. I don't know why, but they will just manage to win against Bayern. And they did play really good. I think it was a mistake after the red card to not bring De Ligt immediately, because as we saw, Daley Blind was pretty much went over his top, and Hoffman played him, made what he wanted with him basically. And it was a great game at the end of the day. They came back. Bayern pushed as well. They were really, really pushing after the 2-1. After they scored the following goal after the 2-0, they were really pushing, and that was great. But then in a moment of weakness, they got the third one, and then they kind of basically gave up internally, and then they were just playing, and at the end they just got another lucky shot or chance, and then Davis gave the ball to Matistel, and then I think it was Matistel, I'm not 100% sure again.
It was.
He just went and put it in the net as he used to. Matistel is actually a pretty cool player, pretty decent player. I'm looking forward to see him more. I think he should get more playing time. Not that he is going to get more playing time, but I think he should. It's going to be a little bit harder now, because what I heard, like, Mané is going to be on the bench again on the weekend. And the same is for Mazraoui, which is not affecting Matistel, but Mané is kind of a big factor. I'm actually keen to see who goes out for Mané, because Choupo-Moting is actually playing really good at the moment, so why should you take him out? And he's especially very good in the new system that Nagelsmann is playing. So it's going to be very interesting. Otherwise, Leipzig won very, very, very cool against Wolfsburg. That was a great game. Not to watch, but great game for Sorare defenders, especially Guardiola again had a display of really good AA. And I'm looking forward
there's a
to
Frenchman.
Next week, Bayern Munich,
Sorry,
Berlin. That's gonna be great.
All the games in Bundesliga coming up are pretty good, right? You got is that also Leipzig is also playing against one of the top 5 or something that I saw?
Yes.
Anyway,
Yes.
there's another Frenchman who's making waves up there, Randall Colomwani. Is he ever going to stop? I think about him because obviously he's playing against Napoli in about 10 minutes as we recorded. It's Frankfurt against Napoli, and Colomwani 10 goals, 10 assists right now in Bundesliga, and I think we knew us Frenchies that he was good when he was in Nantes. But now that he's in Germany, he's doing it as well. I'm not sure if it was as expected that he was going to perform over there. If we look at what they can do against Napoli, do you give him a chance, Fedo?
I think it's gonna be a very big festival of chances. I think it's gonna be an awesome game, really awesome. I'm looking forward to watching it, and I still think Napoli is gonna beat them, because what Napoli is doing right now is just on a different level. And especially what Quaradona and Osimhen, but also Hirving Lozano is coming out of his deep sleep, and Spalletti seems to like him now even more, and is giving him the more important games. And then in the less important games, he has to start Politano, obviously, because you have such great quality on the bench. You need to play them. That's a bad thing about having quality on the bench. They also want to play. And but Napoli against Frankfurt. The good thing is they're playing in Frankfurt, so I would never really underestimate Frankfurt in Frankfurt. But how Napoli is playing right now, I think they should still beat them.
Marseille were supposed to be them joining the group, so I'd be surprised if Napoli doesn't. Quinny, what do you think about that duel? I mean, Napoli's been just extraordinary this season, and it's hard to see them not finally beating the curse. I can't believe they've never been past the round of 16 in Champions League.
I struggle to write off German teams in Europe. And Napoli, like you said, they've not got a steamed history of it, So, Frankfurt can be a banana skin. We've seen that last year. No one expected them to knock out Barca. No one expected them to win the Europa League, never mind make the final. I don't know. I'm always kind of hesitant on writing German teams off in Champions League in particular, especially with the first leg, or particularly now with there being no away goals. I think that changes a lot of this as well, because even Napoli, like tonight, if they win 1 or 2-0, that's not as a destructive, goal line, score line to overcome in leg 2 as it would have been, So I think Frankfurt can probably set up to, accept like a 1-0, a 1-1, and, you've not got that same jeopardy on, we've conceded an away goal versus what you would have normally. So I think Napoli probably will progress, but I'm not going to go head over heels for Napoli just yet, because I think Frankfurt in particular, but German teams in Europe are not to be taken lightly.
Is Napoli a team that you boys are, obviously right now, because we're recording a little bit later than usual, we can see the weekends and the draft. Is Napoli a team that you guys are looking at for your weekend draft in the Serie A?
If I would play it, yes, I would definitely play Quavadona and Osimhen. That would be the stack to go, 100%.
They have the best defense in the league. I think nobody really looks at their defense, but like I have Kim Min-jae. He's never going anywhere.
Huge player. For my draft, I've only once I got Cravadonna and Osimhen into the team, I've not, especially for Serie A, there's just been no point in taking them out. Looking ahead to the Serie A weekend that we've got coming up, I'm not sure. Well, obviously they've got midweek this week, but the way the Champions League's back to normal, it's not like it was last year during that COVID caper with the calendar. So you get weeks between the fixtures. So I think maybe the game in the immediate aftermath of a midweek fixture, you might have a bit of rotation jeopardy. But out with that, most of these teams are going weekend to weekend, for the most part. So Napoli are actually away to Empoli. That could be an easy game to rotate, So I don't know what to think about that in particular.
One game over the weekend that I thought was worth it in Italy, if we look at the players that we want to get, is probably Lazio against Sampdoria. Cremonese is playing against Roma, and of course Roma players aren't there. But yeah, Lazio against Samp is probably. I swapped my keeper and I got the Lazio keeper for the weekend, just because they play against Samp, just to try and get a bit of point. I've got Varadona and Kim Min-jae, and then I kept Leao up front, because apparently Leao is playing a bit of minutes now for AC Milan, however long that's going to last for. Fedo, did you say you played the Serie A in amateur?
No,
the draft.
But if I would play Quaradona and Osimhen. That's what I said.
Was Quaradona rested over the weekend? Is that what I saw?
I think so, man.
Yeah, so it happened before.
But I do love to play the Bundesliga. Actually, it's very fun, if I'm honest, because I'm playing it with mates, and if you play really with mates, it's even funnier, if I'm honest, because then you really know each other. Then the one guy is buying a beer, everybody else, and that's just awesome. And then you can basically neck them, and it's bragging rights. It's the bragging rights. Then that's the most important thing. So I'm very competitive in my Bundesliga lineups. And the first thing I did
of the weekend, then?
The first thing I did, actually, Quinny is gonna be pleased to hear that, is I switched my Diaby with a lovely new Christopher Nkunku, who's gonna be now playing for RB Leipzig.
Nice.
Yeah, he's back. Yeah, Diaby's injured, right?
Pick.
Yes, but only for 10 days. Nothing worse.
Yeah, that's the other game. Leipzig against Frankfurt. It's going to be it's going to be a big game. I put the Leipzig defense on there.
Guardiola is really good. I don't know why. He's so much better on Sorare than Orban. Actually, I think Orban is right now in real life the better defender, but on Sorare, Josko Guardiola is so much better. I don't understand it, but that's just Sorare things.
Who's your strong Bundesliga lineup right now, then?
Right now, the problem is I obviously have Upamecano, and he got a red card, so I needed to swap him. So I got Jonas Tah for him. Not for him, because I'm not going to give him away, because I have the percentages on him. But I had Günther from Freiburg. I had him. And I swapped him with Jonas Tah, because I had some extras remaining, because I bought Diaby very high. So he was more expensive than what I paid for Nkunku right now. So I got some extra, so I could basically get Jonathan Tah, and then obviously I have Florian Wirtz, but that's also always a risk because especially after Europa League, he's gonna be rested because he's coming out of an ACL. So this guy needs to be brought up pretty slow. He can't really start and play every game for 90 minutes. So probably on the weekend he's also gonna just play 30 minutes because he's needed against Monaco. And then what's gonna happen? And then obviously Joshua Kimmich, the AA goat, the Sorare goat, and now in attack I have Christopher Nkunku, and as my sub I have Haller, which I drafted very, very, very cheap at that time. Yeah, it's gonna be great. And if I would have a pick right now, guys, like if I wouldn't had this team and I would basically need maybe an advantage to overcome my bros and everything, I would really consider right now buying Bayern Gittens because he's gonna take over Adeyemi's place now, since Adeyemi has a hammy, as all the footballers in the course of the season will always have one hammy injury, basically, especially the wingers. And so Adeyemi is out for 3-4 weeks, and he came in for him. He played good, and Dortmund is having actually good matchups. I think the next one is against Hoffenheim, and Hoffenheim, as we know, or I know at least, is struggling really hard at the moment. They're really fighting against relegation, so that's should be a good matchup for Dortmund. And Bayern Gittens, I think he's very cheap. I think, how much is he, Quinny? 43, right? I think.
It was like low to mid 40s.
Yeah, that's pretty low, and I don't think he's gonna be churn out all of the DA, but he's gonna be very decisive capable, which is not gonna be bad. And the other one, I think, if I would buy him right now, he's gonna be a little bit more expensive as well. Still playing for Borussia Dortmund is Marco Reus. He's still pretty cheap, and I think he will get better now, like gradually getting better. And the last pick, obviously, I told you myself, I got myself Christopher Nkunku. He is, when fit, the best attacker of the Bundesliga, and you have to have him in your common draft, basically.
The next Chelsea mega flop waiting to happen.
Probably yes.
Unfortunately, because that's just the way it goes with Chelsea and forwards. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Nkunku come back. When I look at the Bundesliga fixtures, like Dortmund-Hoffenheim definitely looks like a game you want to watch. There's actually a few games that are like that. Freiburg-Leverkusen could be tasty. Bayern Munich are at home to Berlin, which won't be an easy game, especially with the Gladbach result from last week. But the game that I think is definitely worth a target is Werder Bremen at home to Bochum. I think you could probably pick out 3 or 4 Werder Bremen players. I've just swapped the goalkeeper into my team, for example. But the forwards, the centre-backs, the midfielders, Werder Bremen are quite repetitive in who scores well for them. And Bochum are just dying at the bottom of the league. Werder Bremen are, by all accounts, one of the surprise teams of the season so far. So I would probably encourage anyone listening to this to have a wee look at Werder Bremen if you're stuck this week in the Bundesliga draft.
I got the keeper as well. I got him into it, the Werder Bremen keeper. I wasn't sure where to get for, and I thought he's safe. I got him. Then I got Julian Brandt and Haller, and then I got 2 Leipzig defender because I thought Frankfurt's going to be tired from the weeks where Heinrichs and David Raum are in there.
Leipzig are playing Man City on Wednesday or tomorrow.
Oh, of course they are. Oh, why did I not think about that? All right, I'll look into it. That makes me think about something, what Fedo was saying before, and I'm curious about if you do it that way, Quinny. Do you look at, like, you get a player, that his points are going to get higher to then see if you can sell it? Like, do you dive into their last 15, you see if there's players that are going?
No, you can't. Well, whatever you spend on them in the draft, the system remembers that, and it only gives you back what you spent on them. So the advantage of getting Haller or Wirtz when they're 0 is that they don't cost you anything. Whereas, but when you go to give them back, they're still 0. So they're just like the best ever 0 you can ever get, kind of thing. But you can't take Wirtz at 0, get him up to 80, and then swap him for Manny or something. It won't let you do that.
They don't give you 150 points.
I don't know if you were suggesting that or not, but I just said that. So sorry if that's not quite on the mark with what you were saying there. But yeah, so if anyone's doing that, or anyone thinks you can do that, you're wasting your time because it won't let you do it. It remembers it remembers what you spent when you go to swap out. Because I did think about that as well, but I double read the rules, and then because as well, what I'm noticing with the guys I've not swapped out, I've had Julian Brandt and Bellingham in since like game week 1, and I've got XP on them. So the ones, I think that's a very understated part of all this is making sure you do have 1 or 2, maybe 3 cornerstone cards that you try and build some XP on that you're going to back for a month, a season, 6 months, or whatever. Because Matt Brandt, who was, we've spoke about Borussia Dortmund quite a lot in these episodes. We're talking about Royce and Bino Gittins and now, but Brandt I've had since game week 1, and I think he's been the best scoring midfielder almost every game week since this draft thing opened. So
yeah,
it's good having some of those guys. If you take the chance on them, you then build some XP against them. And then anyone who's drafting in Brandt now, they're going to be behind me. Yeah,
that's the crazy thing. I have already now 2% on Upamecano. Now he will obviously be benched, but this 2% could be a really big advantage in a certain point, especially at the certain stage. Everybody will have the same teams, and especially in our group, it's getting closer and closer. Everybody having the same teams, so you need to have the XPs to basically differentiate. No, that's going to be really great. But I think because Jeremy was saying Mané, I would keep my fingers away from Mané because first of all, he was not really good at Bayern when he started. He was not really showing this brilliance he showed at Liverpool. Plus, it's going to be so much rotation because I assume Bayern will go further than PSG. I think PSG will get kicked out, hopefully. And that's why basically... there will be a lot of rotations. You can't say that PSG is going to get kicked out because they still have Kylian Mbappé, and I saw what Kylian Mbappé is able to do and capable of doing. And they also have Lionel Messi, who bangs in a nice free kick goal and the 49 minute ones 10 seconds before closing the games at the end of the day. That's just magnifique. And but Mané, I would be really cautious also because Choupo-Moting, as I said, is having a really good time right now. And I can't see that Nagelsmann can basically justify to take him out every game now for Mané. So there will be some random DMPs. Same with the defense of Bayern Munich. It's going to be unpredictable. I would have never ever imagined in my whole life that Matthias de Ligt would have been benched. Seriously, and he was benched. And the other day, then Davis is gonna be benched, and then the only one who seems constant is Upamecano. Upamecano seems to always play if fit and not having a red card, so that would be the pick to go for. He's also the best AA scorer with Pavard. The problem with Pavard, I can't pick Pavard because I think he's a just awful player, so I can't get it over my own personal love for football to pick Pavard. But on Sorare, he is basically the best Bayern player you can have, actually, if he plays. He's unbelievable how much AA this guy is making. It's crazy. And but that those said, in the draft, if I would go for a defender right now, it's gonna be Guardiola, Nico Schlotterbeck, and also Upamecano at the end of the day. And I think, Quinny, you said something about Bremen, which is a very nice call. I think they have a centre back who's a little bit underrated. He's not having the best season, but I think he's not that bad. His name is Amos Pieper, and he's fine. He's very cheap, but he got benched last game, which was very strange, but then got subbed in, which is also very strange because especially centre backs don't really get subbed in. But I do, as I said, I think that's a great thing about Sorare. I don't care about the normal league, but I just care about winning against my friends, and that's the most important thing. And that should be the case also for the other divisions, hopefully in the future, and then it's going to be even more fun.
Yeah.
The other division you play, do you play EPL? I was looking a little bit in EPL for the weekend. I struggled with my EPL draft. What did you guys go to, because there's no Man United playing, there's no Brighton playing. I think Newcastle isn't playing either, or whoever plays in the cup final, obviously.
Newcastle, Man
And so
United,
limited
right.
games, you lose a few players. Like I couldn't use any of my Man United player. Basically, I didn't have enough players to field, so I had to like swap one. So I was able to get somebody in and get a full team. And then I think the game that could be interested for England this weekend is Man City against Bournemouth, and like Leicester against Arsenal. Obviously, we always look at the top two. Fedo, who do you have in your EPL draft?
That's pretty hard actually. I never changed. I got the first draft in, got the players I liked, which is a little bit stupid because I picked Martinelli because I think he's a great player, but he got benched now. So, but he scored then, so maybe he's gonna start again. So let's see about that one. And that was the first good score I got from Martinelli, even if he didn't start. So that was good. I have Martinelli, Ødegaard, then I have Kevin De Bruyne, who seems not to be fit enough to play more tomorrow against Leipzig, so he's going to be playing again at the weekend. I think Kevin De Bruyne is getting old; he's not playing 2 games a week anymore. And then I have Sven Botman, one of my favorite players in all time. I loved him at Lille, and I think I was really crying that he didn't go to Milan because there was really high rumors that he was going to Milan, but then we didn't pay enough money to Lille. So I picked Botman. He's one of my favorite defenders. And then he's out, as you said, because they're playing the Leagues Cup, so I can't play him this weekend. As I drafted Rico Lewis, the kid from Man City, so I'm gonna play him. And then obviously the best goalkeeper in the Premier League, in my eyes, Alisson Becker. I have in goal.
Finally, they are getting a result and a half. Liverpool after the terrible start of the season. I'm wondering how the Real Madrid game is going to change that. Quinny, what do you have for the EPL?
I'm just actually having a wee look through swapping a defender around and whatever, but I've stayed. I got similar to Fedo. I picked Nketiah, Saka, Haaland, and De Bruyne in my first draft, and I've not touched them ever since. And it's they've not really done me too great. They've not really correlated well yet as a set. But with the news that just came out before we came on to record, that De Bruyne and a couple of other guys are not travelling to Leipzig. I hope that means they're going to play Bournemouth. I don't know why you would not play De Bruyne against Leipzig to then play Bournemouth, but maybe that's the madness that Pep Guardiola has gotten to at this point in his career. Who knows? So anyway, maybe drop him for Nketiah or something, but I'm just kind of copying and pasting there. And I think like for goalkeepers and defenders, because I'm kind of shopping around on budget points because of how much I've spent in those spots, like I do really struggle to get excited about the options that are available to me. Like I'm looking at our best defender I can get for 47 points. It's kind of hard to even say who that would be because some of the fixtures in question as well are not great either. You know, like looking here, and again I can't pick any City or Arsenal players because I've got 2 of each. So I'm actually in a real pickle for the Premier League this weekend.
See, I picked cheap Arsenal and cheap Man City at the time, plus one expensive on each side. So I got Haaland and Ederson since the beginning, and Saliba and Saka since the beginning as well. And so Ederson and Saliba have been affordable and are still affordable because they haven't had the best series of game. But I feel like this weekend maybe it's the time where, although both teams are playing away, it's the time that hopefully it's going to pay off. And then I had a bit of extra cash to be able to spend on a midfielder or an extra that would be okay. And I kind of picked halfway yesterday because I was looking at the fixtures, but I picked João Painha from Fulham, who's playing against Wolves. I just was looking at the results. I caught the highlight and I thought he was doing okay, but I'm not 100% sure he's the one who's staying. But I needed a player in there that I thought could stay a few games, and he's got an okay schedule after, because we talked about the XP. I'm trying to get players that I can use 3-4 weeks in a row to see what I can do eventually.
Yeah. This weekend, by the way, guys, is gonna be amazing. Actually, there's gonna be a lot of really great, and the MLS is gonna be back, which is I'm most excited about, if I'm honest. But yeah, I see my friend. Messi,
It's a tangent
Messi
for
is
another
gonna
time,
go.
probably.
But we have Olympique
Yeah,
Marseille,
Messi's next
PSG,
club.
Messi's next club, basically, and we have Olympique Marseille, PSG. We have Atalanta, Milan. We have Union Berlin, FC Bayern Munich. I don't know who we're playing in Premier League, but that's great. Like Sunday is gonna be mad. Like Sunday is gonna be mad. I'm really looking forward to that, especially because Bayern is playing at 5, and then I think at 5 my times, UK time, and then at 7:30. Olympique Marseille PSG. That's so you can watch both games really tranquil, have a tea, and enjoy your Sunday night, basically.
Yeah, in France, Marseille, PSG, and Monaco, Nice are the two games that everybody is looking at, because you got the derby in the southeast, and of course Marseille, PSG. When you got two against first, second against first in Liga, and it's the classic, it's always good. That it's destroying my draft because I got Paul Lopez and Mbappe in there, and I have to put them both on. So it's counterproductive regardless. I thought about you this weekend, Fedo. I remember last weekend when you said Paul Lopez is such a bad goalkeeper, and then he was making save after save after save against Toulouse on the weekend. I thought, no, I can't. I was trying to find the clip, and I was trying to clip it, and so I could show it to you live, but I couldn't get it.
Yeah.
It went like it. There's a moment where there's 3 saves in the same opportunity, and they're actually good saves. I like Paul Lopez. Can't disrespect Paul Lopez. PSG, though, since we were talking about PSG, you should get the players of PSG now, I reckon, because they're about to be kicked out of the Champions League, potentially. And that's when they're going to start winning every single game in Liga 4-0, 5-0. So if you want to get Mbappe, who now costs 55, because I had moved him out of my team, and then I got him back in, because what I was talking about earlier, Quinny, is first I thought you could get more points, but now I know. But also you kind of want to check when the players are going to get lower. So maybe the player the player that you're eyeing on, when they're cheap, they're good. And I think Mbappe at 55 right now, I don't know if he's going to stay that cheap much longer. This game against Marseille, however much I love my team, Mbappe just loves playing at the Velodrome and just loves quieting down this beautiful stadium. So I wouldn't be surprised if
nice.
he... Yeah,
I would love to play at the Velodrome as well, if I'm honest. I would push myself as well.
Most beautiful stadium in the world. What do you mean? Quite nice. It's the best. But yeah, I think Mbappe is a pretty good shout to get now, because I don't think the point stays that low. Talking about the Liga and draft, I got Ben Yedder since the beginning, and yeah,
Liverpool just scored. It's 1-0 Liverpool.
Oh wow, yeah, of course he's. I watched Real Madrid this weekend, and it was painful.
Darwin Núñez, the man himself.
Crazy. 2 weeks ago, everybody is firing Klopp, and now look at him after a derby
Liverpool,
against
Real Madrid. But hey, that's Liverpool's bogey. Liverpool love playing Real Madrid. They love a bit of that.
4th minute goal.
But what you were saying, Jeremy, I was looking at the fixtures for the weekend before looking at them for the draft perspective, just looking at All-Star and whatever. The French league, like the fixtures are really, Lyon have got a great fixture away to Angers. And I think for the draft, I think some clever people will look at Strasbourg probably. But Monaco versus Nice and Marseille versus PSG, man, that takes a lot of firepower out of the field, doesn't it?
Yeah, and opens up for good scorer, because you don't know how the game is going to go. The players that we know are missing both sides of this team. Of course, I said Mendes and Neymar, and for Marseille, their best scorer I think is Mbemba right now, and he's not going to play because he's suspended. On the weekend, Gigot is injured as well, so a player like Bailly will most certainly start with Balerdi and Kolasinac. So if somebody wanted to get a Marseille player, not too expensive, those are the guys. But yeah, Strasbourg, the one important, I think, information is that they got a new coach, Antonetti, who's a coach that's known for being a defensive coach that does well in counter-attack, and that's exactly what they did over the weekend against Angers, and that's what they'll do against Clermont as well. I think, the fixture that you mentioned, Lyon, is a good fixture. They lost, I don't know how, over the weekend against Auxerre, so they'll have to sort of like find some redemption. They don't have Lacazette right now, so looking at player like maybe Cherki or Dembele or Kakare is probably the go. And then your favorite goalkeeper is a good shout as well, Vito Manone, because Lorient is playing against Auxerre, and Lorient is finally going back to playing the way they're supposed to be playing. Actually, when I was looking at Lorient and what they did over the weekend, one of the two recruits that they got over the winter, Pemba Dieng and Romain Fèvre, well, they both scored over the weekend, and Fèvre and Dieng both started as well. And the coach said that he was counting on them to bring some much needed experience. So that means they're going to start again. And Bemba Dieng, I've seen him play too much in Marseille, and I don't trust him to be any consistent. But Romain Fèvre is a consistent midfielder, and he always will score well, I think, in Sorare, because he loves to dribble, he loves to bring the ball into the box, and he loves those passes into the box. And we know how well that scores for midfielder. And right now he costs nothing. He's at 33, and he just scored 66 over the weekend. And when they play against Auxerre is Gruyere cheese defensive wise. Everything goes through. So I think it's a good shout to try and get a Lorient player or two in there. I got Romain Fèvre because I'm probably going to use him into my French 220 as well, because he's such a cheap guy to be able to get, and given you can use those players into the 220 competition as well, the cap competition. I thought it was a good way for me to use points anywhere else.
I saw something right now that makes me really happy, because I think he's awesome. I love him. I watched him in the U19, U17 French national team, playing with Tanguy and Su, and I think he's utterly amazing. And I don't know how he could not break out sooner. Is Krisline Matsima, and he came back from to Monaco, and he started as well against Brest. Now got 93 points. He's such a beast. Wow. He's actually a really good player in real life. I really don't know what took him so long to become I don't think he's a starter, but to even be considered by the coach. But now he's probably they called him back because they lost Benoit Badiachil, and he's kind of the same player as Benoit Badiachil, only better in my eyes, at least from talent perspective. And yeah, I really like him. But that was just what I looked when I looked at Monaco. But another thing that is going to be maybe impacting the draft, and Jeremy, you might agree with me on that one. Another favorite of mine, Thiago Giallo. If Jose Fonte is out, he always plays way better. And it seems like Jose Fonte is out, and they're playing at home against Brest. So that's a good matchup as well. So Thiago Giallo is also one to watch, basically. I'm playing him in a very competitive team in Rare as well. That's how much faith I have in him.
Matsima is playing because Monaco doesn't have any right back right now. Van der Sar and Aguilar can't play. So that's why Matsima was right back. And yeah, for Dalot for sure. And what it's going to do in Lille is that either Timothy Weah or Gudmundsson, the young, I think he's Swedish, are going to play left back. So that leaves a spot that we don't know what's going to happen on left back for Lille. But right now he likes to play Weah all the way down at left back instead of playing him his usual winger position. But yeah, Dalot would be in the central defense since Fonte is out, and apparently he's out for a bit as well. Jonathan David, for example, is a good shout for the weekend.
Yes, 100%. I'm playing both in the same lineup. Yeah, but those are my boys. I have to believe in them anyway. So that's my fate. I owe them.
Have to. Quinny, is there any other draft that when you were looking at, like there's something that we can't miss in over the weekend in La Liga or Serie A or?
Well, looking at La Liga, we've got the Madrid derby going on in there. Also, we've got Barca playing Thursday night against Man United, and then they're away to Almeria. We've seen a real rotation last week from Barca, so you could probably predict their team quite well. Ferran Torres is like 40 points to get in. His L15 is like 35 or something. And he did a 70 or something like the weekend. 76 with no decisive as a forward card, so that's definitely one to look at. I'm actually in the process now. It's probably why you've came to me, so you can see me doing mental maths in my head and looking confused. But I think the apex kind of thing to do, and I'm just in the middle of doing it now, but I'm actually going to bring in Gabri Vega and Diego Aspas. Celta Vigo are at home to Valladolid, and I'm going to shift out Brais Mendes because he's really expensive and they've got European commitments on the horizon as well. And the Ferran Torres thing, so I'm going to actually swap them out. And I'm 1 point down. I maybe need to rethink that. But I think Celta Vigo are due a couple of goals. They've not been performing well recently, but Valladolid are getting beat by everyone. And Celta Vigo are good, and they're at home. And this is one of the games where, Aspas hasn't scored for probably, I don't know what the record is, but let's just say it's 5 or 6 games. This is the sort of game he'll get a hat-trick on, and then go on a wee run of form for 4 or 5 games of being good again, in my opinion. So Aspas at 59 points. Vega in midfield for 47. Depending on what you're looking for, they would be 2 great shouts, I think, for La Liga. Because the rest of the division for the upcoming weekend, there's not that many amazing fixtures. In La Liga, as we spoke about before on this one, it's not quite the same. Like France, there's a lot of really vibrant kind of players and dynamics going on. But Spain is really difficult to stack a situation. Yeah. It is more like who's going to start and who's at home and who's the penalty taker, and try and find some of these guys and club them together somehow,
2-0 Liverpool, Real Madrid.
2-0, yeah. I just saw.
Mo Salah.
Real Madrid is going to get kicked out. Same with... that's a very tricky situation, if I'm honest, because if Real Madrid is going to get kicked out and PSG is losing Galtier, that might open a job now for Tuchel. I think Tuchel wants to go to Real Madrid, and I think that's what he's waiting for, actually. So I don't know if he's going to sign for PSG then. Because if they're going to get kicked out of Champions League, at the end of the season, Ancelotti is 100% gone, maybe even before. And I think...
give it to Tuchel, man.
Sorry?
I hope they don't give it to Tuchel. Real Madrid, I hope they don't give it to Tuchel.
Tuchel is he's a very not a nice human being, but being a coach, he is world class. He's world class. Let's say like that. Let's leave it like that in the room.
You were talking about, back to the draft. I think Betis Sevilla also obviously playing Elche. Every team who plays Elche, you always can have a look at it. And Canales has been in good form recently, so I got him in. He's only at 51. But nice. It's like his last 3 games, it's 70, 89, 83. And Betis Sevilla, they need to get points to be able to stay within reach of the Champions League, of the European qualification, maybe Champions League, maybe more Europa League. And they're going to Elche. I got Barcelona and them. And then I was surprised. I don't know if you guys know something, because actually I couldn't find any information why Unai Simon didn't play over the weekend. He was on the bench for Athletic.
I know.
22 years old Ruben was playing.
Because there's going to be cup games coming up, and Arrizabalaga is going to play them. So he needs to basically get some form before he's playing them, so that they're going to get kicked out of the cup. That's basically why he played.
Remove all the points I needed to get into rewards territory there.
There's another one.
But guys, how bad is Valencia? They're gonna get relegated.
Wow. Yeah.
Like, sorry, how bad are they? I'm so sorry for my boy Mamadashvili, because I think he's the best U23
He was amazing.
Right now.
I watched that game. He was amazing.
Mamadashvili is amazing, and the rest of the team is so shit. Sorry for the word, but what is going on in Valencia? They were supposed to be European club at the end of the season, like going to play in Europe. Like, this is crazy. I watched that
game because I have
lost 5 games in a row.
Yeah,
only won 5 games all season and 22 played with 5 draws. Second bottom in the table at the moment. Rino Gattuso was the manager for a lot of the season. He's been sacked, and they've brought in a club legend guy, Ruben Baraja, Baraka.
Yeah.
I don't know how you say it. It's got a J in it, but I don't know how you say it. Baraka or something. I'm sure it's him that's came in. So yeah, man, it looks like wow, such a. But you know, you would hope, or if you're Valencia, you hope that Almeria and Valladolid continue to fall. I don't think they'll beat. Obviously, I'm quite soft for Getafe. I think Getafe will probably get away from that, but Valencia, wow, that is shocking. I know that Getafe beat them 1-0, and I found that quite surprising.
Yes.
The Getafe got the clean sheet. I had the goalkeeper, and I was not expecting a clean sheet out of that game, you know, because Cavani up front, Samuelino, Samu Castillo, you know, they've got good guys up front. The midfield isn't light of talent either. Yunus Musa, Iliax Mariba, Hugo Guillamon. They've got some players, man, you know, but they're just not winning games, not scoring points or goals, you know. So that's
Cavani wasn't there on the weekend, and that showed because Valencia was. I don't know. I stumbled on the game because it was yesterday morning, and I wanted to watch Arambari because I had it in my squad for like 2.5 years now. And there was just nothing going on for Valencia. And if they're down 5-0 by halftime, it would have been normal because Mamadashvili, was on another planet, saving everything and anything. It really looked like you were looking at like Champions League Getafe against relegated Valencia, which is not the case. But yeah, when I saw a player like Justin Kluivert starting and he's so wasteful, and Jacobi in defense, I like him, but he's just not like he's just
I
not.
don't like that Diakabi. I've always thought he's rubbish. Mukhtar Diakabi, I don't like him.
Yeah, personally, I don't like him as
when
well.
he was before he left, when he was young, there was one of those players where you thought, he might have a ceiling that he reaches, and I feel like anyway, Valencia is not the team you want to go to if you have to reach anything.
2-1, by the way.
But 2-1 now.
I've
got Robertson, so that's my clean sheet going.
Vinicius Junior, Harry is probably being happy right now.
Both Courtois, by the way, has got an error led to goal in the game tonight. 8 points he's on. So Real Madrid stackers in the mud this game week.
Yeah. Anyways, if the Champion Europe is so competitive, it's unbelievable. Like you need so high scores. Like even last week. Last week was a little bit worse because you had all these Bayern stacks. But yeah. But talking about Mamadashvili, because also about the draft and also about Champion Europe in general, I think if he ever gonna get a clean sheet, the guy will have 90 to 100 points. Like it's unbelievable because he's making 50 to 60 points without having a clean sheet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
He'll be boss level.
But at this moment, I don't believe he will ever get a clean sheet, if I'm honest.
Nah, not this season. Maybe next season.
Yeah, if he moves,
feels like Van der Vaart all over again. Remember, Van der Vaart couldn't get a clean sheet for love nor money for like a year. Van der Vaart was just rubbish, couldn't do anything. Kind of similar, but he's still getting AA, which is different.
Yeah, he's getting AA because he's gonna get because as Jeremy said, they're shooting on his goal as crazy because the defense is has more holes than Swiss cheese, but it's unbelievable. He's gonna move in summer anyways. He's way too good for Valencia. He's gonna go to a big club and he's gonna do great because he's a very good goalie.
I don't know how much more we have on this episode. I just wanted to we talked about this last week, and I saw you again this week. Shout that the manager who finished top into the French League draft once again is a player who's only ever played free to play and never won anything. And now they found themselves now with the Tier 0. I was actually trying to find what card they won, but they found themselves with the Tier 0 limited now, free 500. I'll find it while we talk about it. And the other thing that I saw with those guys is in France, like I think it was 17 teams out of the top 20 had either Neymar or Mbappe as their captain. So obviously they never stop. What's the reward? He's not showing it.
Probably a Messi or a Kylian.
Or maybe, probably didn't open it yet. That's why we can't see it on his Sorare data yet.
Yeah.
And anyway, yeah, he won the Tier 0 limited. So good on him when you have 0.000 as your roster valuation. It's a good way to start.
It's a huge win for sure. That's it.